Hello, welcome to Mindful Chatting. Okay, I want you to think about how many places you currently have things written down. Like, think about it. Your planner, maybe your notes app, a calendar, maybe some reminders, your email, maybe even some sticky notes, possibly like this random piece of paper on your desk, maybe some screenshots, texts you've sent yourself. And if you're anything like me, approximately 400 conversations with ChatGPT where you had a brilliant idea and thought, I'll definitely remember this later. You will not. And here's what I've realized. I used to think my problem was that I wasn't capturing enough. So I got really good at writing things down, except when I created a completely different problem when I did that. I had information absolutely everywhere. And that's when I realized that capturing is not planning. It's one step of planning. Because after you write something down, something has to happen with it. And that's what eventually became my 4C planning system: capture, clarify, calendar, and come back. Today, I'm going to teach you exactly how I use it, and it's a part of the ADHD Planning course if you're interested. But don't worry, we're going to unpack this together. Welcome to Mindful Chatting, a podcast where therapy meets real life. I'm Kristen, a therapist, business owner, and a lifelong student of what it means to fully show up in our relationships, in our work, and in our healing. Here, we unpack mental health concepts, explore mindfulness tools, and talk through the messy, beautiful, in-between moments that shape us. Whether you're a fellow clinician, a curious listener, or someone navigating your own growth, this space is for you. Let's chat. I think a lot of ADHD planning advice starts way too late. It starts with make this to-do list, prioritize your tasks, schedule your entire day. Okay, but where did those tasks actually come from? Because mine don't politely arrive at Sunday at 6 p.m. while I'm sitting with my planner. They arrive probably while I'm driving, or when I'm in session with a client, or while I'm making dinner, or in the shower, or at 9:42 at night while I'm working on something completely unrelated, usually. ADHD brains generate thoughts constantly. And because working memory can be unreliable, we develop this sense that if I don't do something with this thought right now, I'm going to lose it. Which means we either interrupt what we're currently doing or we desperately try to remember it, and neither works particularly well. So, my planning system actually starts before the planning. It starts with the capture system. So, the capture is really let's get it out of your brain. Capture means I need trusted places where information can leave my working memory in my brain. And we've talked about some of this already in past episodes, like with Apple reminders or notes or my planner or even my ChatGPT car conversations or using things like OneNote. The specific tool isn't actually really the important part. The important part is I know where the thought goes. Because otherwise, I spend way too much mental energy trying not to forget it. Don't forget her email, or don't forget to order that, or don't forget that podcast idea, or don't forget to schedule that appointment. Well, congratulations. Now I'm using my brain as a very anxious sticky note. No, I need to get it out of my brain. But here's this really capture trap that kind of appears. This is where a lot of us stop. We think, I wrote it down. Well, success. Well, not quite. Because if I capture 37 things into my Apple Notes and never look at my Apple Notes ever again, I haven't really built a system. I've built a storage unit. And capture should remove that cognitive load, not relocate the clutter. So this is very important about what your capture system wants to look like. The second C in the 4C method is clarify. And this might be the most underrated step because ADHD brains can make incredibly vague tasks, like things like I need to do my taxes, my website, my school, my podcast, I need to call a family member, I need to work on the house. Those aren't necessarily actions, they're categories. So when I review something I've captured, I need to clarify, what does this actually require from me? So let's say I wrote podcast freebie. Okay, but what does that even mean? Do I need to write it? Do I need to design it? Do I need to upload it? Create some landing page for it? Send it to my social media manager? Suddenly, that like one vague task is actually a project with like 6 other steps attached to it. And that might be why I've been avoiding it too. Not because we're lazy, because every time we see like something vague, like a podcast freebie, your executive functioning has to figure out what the heck that even means, like all over again.
Here's a quick note for my clinicians listening. If you're looking for a charting and practice management system that doesn't make you want to scream, well, guess what? I use Therapy Notes. It's clean, reliable, HIPAA compliant, and honestly saves me hours every week. You can try it with my link in the show notes.
So with Clarify, I asked 3 questions. Is this actionable? If no, maybe it's more reference material, an idea, or something that I need to delete. Or what's the actual next step? Not the entire project, not just what I need to do, but what's next? What do I actually need to complete? And then number 3, does this need multiple steps? And if yes, let's stop pretending that doing taxes is one task when it's actually quite a project. And it probably needs to be broken down into small little actionable steps to have the whole thing completed. Sometimes procrastination is just a task that hasn't been defined well enough to actually start it yet. And I think when I discovered Capture and Clarify, this was like huge for me because I used to make these giant lists of what to do and then wonder why I was avoiding them completely. And when I really looked at the list, half of the items weren't just tasks, they were basically little anxiety headings like business, taxes, podcast. Like, okay, Kristen, like what exactly would you like me to do with the theme business at 2:30 on a Wednesday? Like once I started clarifying what I was actually asking a future me to do, starting became a whole lot more easier. And this is something I talk about in my activation course too. Like sometimes the barrier isn't necessarily motivation. Sometimes the starting line just isn't clear enough yet. And then the third C of the 4C method is calendar. So now we're going to get into something we've been talking about really all of past month when it comes to my podcast episodes, which is time. Because a task without time is still mostly a wish. And this is where I ask, like, when can this realistically happen? Not when can I cram this into my week or my day? Those are very 2 different questions. And this is what making like sourdough bread when I was starting that hobby, and I did a whole podcast episode about that, really drove home for me when I discovered this. I started thinking about my day in these defined windows based on my anchors within my calendar. I started thinking about my day of like 30 minutes or an hour or 90 minutes between these anchors of my calendar. So when I'm calendaring something, I don't look at Tuesday and think, well, Tuesday looks pretty open for me. I look at the actual available window of time that I have. So maybe I have 7 to 7:30 or 10:30 to 11:30 or 2 to 2:30. Those are 3 completely different planning opportunities, and the task needs to kind of fit that window. And then this is where the layered planning kind of comes back with all of this. So last week's episode, we talked about the layered planning. And my calendar shows me where my time already belongs. And then my physical planner helps me process when I can realistically fit it in. And then my reminders help the future me remember what I need to do. So the 4Cs don't replace those tools. They tell me how information moves between them. And that's really the distinction between the layered planning and the 4C method. Layered planning tells me what job does each tool have, and the 4C system tells me what happens to that information when I have it. So, this is also where we need to talk about the fantasy of scheduling. You know what fantasy scheduling is. It's when you look at the 4 available hours that I just said and schedule approximately 9 hours of tasks and somehow think like totally reasonable. I can totally fit this in. And then Thursday comes around and you accomplish what, like 3 out of those things? And instead of thinking, interesting, my planning assumptions were inaccurate, you think, oh my gosh, I suck at follow through and I can't follow through with anything. No, maybe you made a mathematically impossible plan that was unrealistic for the time that you had. That is not a character flaw. That's actually data for you. And that's when my red pen method really kind of fits into this larger system. And I have a whole podcast episode about the red pen method if you want to go back and look at that. It's not why didn't this happen? It's what didn't happen and then why. Was the time estimate wrong? Was my energy very different during that time? Did something unexpected happen? Was I avoiding the task completely? Was it just unclear? Now we're learning from our system and understanding the system as it's giving us data about ourselves and planning differently. The 4C is come back. And now we get into this favorite C of mine, because this is where I think most productivity systems completely lose ADHD people. They teach you like how to set up the system, but nobody really teaches you like how are you going to remember that the system actually exists when you abandon it for some reason. Because ADHD people love novelty. Week 1, we love our planner. Week 2, yeah, we're still doing okay with it. Week 3, like, where is my planner? I don't even know where I put it. And traditionally, we interpret that as like, I've failed, like, I can't follow through with anything. And we're not going to do that anymore. I'm going to assume I'm going to leave the system. So I'm going to build a way back into that system.
If you want to understand your ADHD in a deeper way, I've created the ADHD Crash Course, and it walks you through ADHD step by step so that you can actually start understanding your brain and not shaming it. Everything's in small, doable lessons designed for your ADHD in mind. The link is in the show notes.
So your planning system needs an appointment with you. Maybe it's Sunday morning, Friday afternoon, Monday before work, whatever works in your schedule. But there needs to be a reoccurring moment where you come back and ask, what did I capture? What needs more clarification? What needs calendar space? Why didn't this particular thing happen? What's coming up next? The return part of the system, that's not evidence that the system failed. We need to integrate that within our system. The goal isn't to build a planning system you'll never leave again. It's to build one you know how to return to. So let's put the 4 C's all together. And I'm going to use a real world example. So let's say I'm driving and think, I want to create a downloadable worksheet for my podcast. Well, that's my capture. So I use my capture system and get the ID out. And that could be using ChatGPT or any kind of AI tools. That could be writing it down in my task or reminders list. It could be in my OneNote. It doesn't matter, but we need to have a funnel for our capture systems. Now, I don't need to keep thinking about it. I just put the idea in my capture system. So during my review, where I schedule a time with myself, I realize that this isn't one task. I need to outline the worksheet. I need to write it. I need to design it. I need to upload it. I need to create the link and add it to the show notes. Now I know what I'm actually dealing with when I clarify and made time to look through this idea. And now I'm looking at my calendar. I look at my actual available time to do these actual one task that I captured was really what, 7 different items that I need to do. So now I'm actually looking at the available time that I have. And maybe that's Tuesday at like a 60-minute creation block that I have. And maybe Thursday, I have like this 30-minute administration block. Great. Different steps go into appropriate windows. So if I'm designing something, that's probably going to go into my creation block. If I'm writing it up and posting it and maybe, creating a post to write about it, then that might go in my admin window. Different steps go into different windows of how I'm doing one project that developed into like 7 different tasks. Then lastly, come back. So every Sunday, I review what my week looked like. And I looked at what happened, what didn't, where does these unfinished tasks that didn't happen this past week, where are they going next week? And so now the project stays alive without requiring me to constantly hold it in my head. And that is the 4C system in kind of a realistic, kind of real world example. One of the things that I want you to do is which C are you missing? I want you to figure out if you're constantly forgetting things, then maybe you need a capture system. If your list feels really overwhelming or vague, then maybe you have a clarifying problem. If you have a beautiful list but never have time to do any of it, well, then maybe we have a calendar problem. And if systems work for like 2 weeks and then they disappear, well, then we have a comeback problem. And you can have more than one of these, but that's much more useful than just saying I'm really bad at planning. It allows you to go, oh, maybe I don't really have a capture tool, and maybe I need to work on experimenting with one to see what works with my brain. And all of this layered planning and capture system is why I built my ADHD planning course. I don't want to give you another planner template and tell you, like, here you go, just use mine, it's going to solve everything. Because your life isn't like mine. Your work isn't mine. Your energy isn't mine. And your family isn't mine. Your executive functioning profile isn't mine. Instead, I want to teach you how to build that infrastructure. How do you capture? How do you clarify? How do you assign realistic time for yourself? How do you physically and use digital tools, and how do they work together for you? And most importantly, how do you come back when you inevitably fall out of your system? Because that's where I think ADHD planning becomes sustainable for you. And I want to teach you all of that. So, your weekly challenge is don't overhaul your entire planning system this week. I just want you to identify your weakest 4 C's. So, capture, do I have a trusted place where I can put all the things? Clarify, are my tasks actually actionable? Calendar, am I assigning realistic time and space for these things? Or come back, do I have a defined return point when I fall off? Just pick one. Just work on that one, because sometimes we don't need an entirely new system. We need to repair the place where the current one keeps leaking. So, as a reminder, we will spend years, and I did too, thinking I needed to become like better at remembering, more disciplined, more consistent, more organized. But what I actually really needed was a system that didn't depend on me being any kind of those things perfectly. I needed somewhere for my ideas to go, a process for deciding what that actually meant for me, and a realistic way to give them time and a way to find them again after life inevitably pulled me somewhere else. That's where the 4C method planning system comes in. And maybe the biggest lesson I've learned when I developed this ADHD planning course is that your system shouldn't require you to become someone else in order for it to actually work. It should help the person you already are move through life with a little less friction. And if you want to walk through actually building that system for yourself, that's exactly why I created the ADHD Planning Stack course for you. Not to give you my system, but to help you build yours specifically for you and your time. And if you're interested in that, that's in the show notes. I want to thank you for joining me. And as always, be gentle with your mind.
For any clinicians tuning in, if insurance billing is the part of your practice that drains your soul, Headway will be your best friend. They get you credentialed, send you referrals, manage your billing, submit your claims, all the stuff none of us went to grad school for. It's free to join, and honestly, it's been a huge support for therapists who want to take insurance without drowning in the administration part. My link is in the show notes if you want to check it out. One more thing before you go, and this helps me personally, staying present and grounded, which we all need, especially when your brain wants to spiral into disconnection. Me too. It's Brain FM. It's musically designed to help ADHD brains, well, really anyone's brain, focus, relax, or sleep, and I use it almost daily. If you want to try it, I've dropped my link in the show notes. And if you're looking for planning tools or ADHD-friendly resources, I'll keep a list of my favorite links in every episode.